Hi, I am the messenger. Today I want to try something new. This is my first tutorial. I want to show you how to build and animate a fountain like this one. The animation is done with Procedual Objects and its back and forth module. We will also need Move It and Prop Line tool. This tutorial assumes you somewhat know your way around those mods. Links will be in the description. Let me show you the parts. Everything will be linked in the description. We will use this sandstone retaining wall, as its top part looks nicely water weathered, quite fitting for an old fountain. There is this great water prop we can use. It's quite faint, you need to plop it down multiple times until it looks good. That way you can also fine-tune how blue your water will be. We will put some of those spotlights in there. They are what makes the nighttime view so glorious. And we will use this set of fountain jets. Sadly, they lose their steam effect when turned into procedural objects. And they look a bit greyish from the not so sunny side. We need to turn some of them into procedural objects, to make them raise and drop down. But I also like the steam effect, so we will use both prop and PO versions of those fountains. We will build the walls too big at first and then shrink them down with Move It. We start with a cross as a brace and then build a circle. Highlight all the nodes with Move It, and by pressing plus and minus you can now scale your construction up and down. You can also use page up and down to change the height of your walls. Make this outer wall fit into your desired spot. If you have enough space, you can do a second wall for a second water level inside. We'll use Move It to get it perfectly centered. Highlight all the nodes again. Hold Alt and click the copy button to generate a copy in the exact same place, which is now selected. Use minus key to shrink it and page up to raise it a bit until it's in place. Those bracing walls in the middle will get removed eventually, but let's keep them for now. They will be useful to easily find the center when placing props. We'll turn our water props into procedural objects, so we can scale and position them to fit our walls. Now that the first water surface is in there, let's use Move It to copy it in place a couple times until the water is nicely blue. As all these water props will sit in the same spot, it becomes difficult to select them individually. So we will use a trick. We will put all existing water props into one PO group and then tell the mod to make them unselectable by unticking the group switch here. Even Move It respects that and refuses to select them, a great help when it gets dense. Now we do the same for the upper water level, just smaller and a bit higher. So we take a water prop, scale it until it fits, copy it in place until it's blue, and make them a group. Great, now to the fountain jets. The prop version looks a bit nicer than the procedural object version, so the outer rings are props and always on, just to set the stage. And there are 3 inner rings of animated PO versions. Not that pretty, but can move up and down. We'll start with the outer circle. Those are usually small and we'll keep them as prop version to stay always on and always shiny. Use Prop Line tool to do nice circles. They will be lowered, so I want them close to each other and choose a short distance. And then use Move It to lower them down. the second circle will be higher up. It is there for the steam effect, so they need to be high enough to see the steam. I don't want them to totally block the view, so I still use the smallest fountain and choose a larger distance between props, and then use Move It to lower them down, but only so much that the steam effect keeps visible. Let's put in the spotlights that will illuminate the fountain at night. Prop Line tool places them at ground level, so we need to raise them with Move It. Make sure they are on top of the inner wall. As long as they are under it, they won't illuminate the fountains properly. Seems like I misplaced some. Let's correct that. Up to the inner water level. We will use procedural object groups again, but this time we want them to be selectable, so we will tell PO and Move It to stop ignoring them by ticking this check here. We'll use Prop Line tool to do a circle of small fountains, highlight them with Move It, turn them into procedural objects, and lower them down until they are just a little sprinkle above the water surface. As far as I know, those nozzles always keep a small trickle of water during shows. If you don't like it, you can lower them down a bit more. Now use procedural objects to make them a group. Now we will do the same for the middle circle out of middle fountains. Lower them down and make them a procedural object group. And finally put a big fountain right in the center. Lower it down and make it a procedural object. Now to the choreography. We will use procedural objects back and forth module to make the three inner groups of fountains dance. I want them to slowly raise up one group after the other and then drop down together and start anew. That's why I have placed them all at the low point so far. Them all arriving at low point simultaneously is the ideal starting point with planning the settings we need to do in the back and forth module. Modules look daunting at first. I hope I can shed some light on this one. We will define a low and a high resting point for our fountain jets. Then we will tell it how long to stay at each point and how long to take to travel from one point to the other point. We need to do that 3 times, once for each group. Go into the outer fountain group. Make sure to edit the root of the group. The root is that one prop that has its plus button at the same place as the group's plus button was. Click on Modules, add a back and forth module. Our point A is the low pressure point. Click the left button here to set point A. Now move the fountain up to the high pressure point and click the right button to set point B. Once we have points, we can move to them by clicking here. Make sure to be back at point A by clicking that button. And click the Children in Group Follow Motion button, so the whole group will move together. Now for the timing of our movements. Please take my numbers as suggestions. I use a mod to change pedestrian walking speed and I use the speed slider. My numbers are meant to look nice next to my pedestrians and at my favorite speed setting. Your mileage may vary. The first number is the waiting time at point A, the low point. We want to stagger waiting times so the 3 groups race one after the other. This is the first group. Let's make it wait 2 seconds. The other groups will wait 3 and 4 seconds. The second number is how long the move from A to B takes. I found 0.5 seconds to look nice for all fountains. The third number is the waiting time at point B, the high point. We will stagger that inversely to the waiting time at point A, so they all start to drop down together. This group arrives first. We will wait longest with 3 seconds. The other groups will wait 2 and 1 second. The last number is the drop down time. It should be faster than the race time. 0.2 seconds looks good to me. Make sure you have clicked the Children Follow in Group button to on. Now let's unpause and look how it does. Great. Let's pause again when the fountains are low. Make sure they are at the lowest point. Now reset the module by deactivating it and reactivating it. We want to start the choreography in sync with the other groups the next time. It's basically the same for the other fountain jets, just that the waiting times get staggered. Rest at A is 2 seconds for the small fountains, 3 seconds for the medium ones and 4 for the big one. Rest at B is 3 for the small fountains, 2 for the medium ones and 1 second for the big fountain. Now unpause your game and watch your fountain. And remove the bracing walls by deleting the middle node. Let's switch to night mode, so we can see why we put spotlights in there. Now all that's left is to decorate the surrounding area like a city square or a park. My main square here has lots going on and was great fun to build. Thank you for staying with me until the end. I hope you liked my first try at the tutorial.